All right, so now you're going to hear from some folks that have been participating in EXITO, and we have a wonderful group of panelists. We've made some changes from your program, or what you might see on the agenda. So I want to make a special note of two people that just this morning, in fact, one of them just 5 minutes ago, was asked to join this panel. So I really appreciate their willingness to do that. So we have a few different arrangements here. We have we have some mentors and some scholars. We have a couple of pairs, like mentor-mentee, and some others that are just talking from one perspective or the other as being a scholar or a mentor. So let me just do some quick introductions, and they can say more about themselves as they begin their comments. So right here we have Samantha Underwood from OHSU. She's a research mentor and has worked with many scholars, including the person to her left, Heather. Heather Hamilton, a scholar. And then we have Teala Alvord, a scholar. And she is matched with Lisa Marriott, who is a research mentor. Lisa is also a career mentor, so she's done both, and she's going to maybe talk about career mentoring a little bit as well. And then one of our instant panelists, who is very excited about this opportunity, we have Mirah Scharer, and she has, I don't know what she's going to talk about, but she's had some great, she's from our first cohort, started at Chemeketa and has transferred to PSU. Then we have one of our heroes, another first-year scholar who came to the very first orientation, and she loved it so much she came back every year as a volunteer and always sharing. She's from University of Alaska, Anchorage. So we're happy to have Ashley Widmer with us again. And we have from NMC, a career mentor. So Lorna, she's the one who I just got to join us. So we're very happy that she's going to share. She's been a career mentor for several years there, working with their students. So for those who knew they were going to be doing this, we asked them to think about a few things that they might share. Just a few questions that were given as prompts, like to talk about what made your relationship, your mentoring relationship work, or if there were challenges, what did you have to overcome to get it to a good place? And then, what did the mentoring offer in terms of support for the scholars? So what did scholars gain from this, or what were mentors able to offer in support? And also just to think about what was your favorite moment in the mentoring relationship so far? Just to share maybe a quick story or something like that. So we'll give them all about 5 minutes to sort of talk about those types of things, and then we'll open it up to questions. And I think one has a PowerPoint, so we'll let her get started. So Teala?
Hi everybody, I'm Teala Alvord. I did PowerPoint because otherwise I will forget my words. So bear with me, a lot of this is kind of be redundant, but still very important. So as far as starting your RLC, going to choose a lab, but also choosing mentors or working with mentors, the things that have worked for me is really being involved. It's very important, and I know you spoke about it before, but making sure that you take the time to research what people are doing, what you're interested in, and being able to choose those goals very purposefully. Make sure that you're vulnerable with your mentor. In any relationship, this is going to work. Talk about, what you need and what your strengths and your fears are, but also the biggest thing is remember that you're going to be uncomfortable, you're going to be scared, you're going to make mistakes, and that's okay. So own them, ask for help, and admit when you don't know. That's a big thing. Be honest, again, just being really vulnerable and being able to talk about what you do know, what you don't know, what you need help with. Setting boundaries is super important because as students, remember that that's your priority, and your mentors know that as well. So setting your boundaries, making sure that you only commit to what you can commit to, and then making sure that you stick to those commitments. One of the biggest things, and I'm so lucky I haven't had this issue, but if a relationship isn't working, talk about it. Talk about it with anyone that you feel safe with, and also talk about it with your mentor. They're here to help you succeed, and if that's not working for you, it's probably not working for them either, and there are options to make it better. So for me personally, with my mentors, and I have several mentor relationships, I have a lot of work experience. I'm a non-traditional student, so I had a lot of management experience. I worked for Starbucks for 12 and a half years, so time management and organization. One of the things that I also work very hard at is open communication and professional communication. So these things, they work in any organization. Make sure that you utilize what you know and what your strengths are, and they're going to support you in your endeavors. I also consistently link my education. I'm in the School of Public Health, I'm learning stuff all the time, and I'm constantly being able to bring that back to the research that I'm doing with Lisa. So my favorite story is we had the opportunity to go to the USA Science and Engineering Festival, and we were there representing a really large grant. It actually is, I think it's something that EXITO is funded under too. It's the Science Education Partnership Award. And it was a dream come true. I was there with all sorts of folks working for the NIH. So when Dr. Marriott and I got back into Portland, exhausted, the Lyft driver asked us what we'd been doing. And so Dr. Marriott gave a little, spiel about what we were doing. And he says, "Oh, cool, so you guys are scientists?" And without skipping a beat, Dr. Marriott says, yes, we are. And I just remember at that moment being so blown away because I owned it for the first time. And I allowed myself to take that on, and it was a huge moment for me. So that's it. Yeah, and that's it.
Thank you, Dr. Tom. And I would like first to thank this opportunity that I was invited to talk in front of intellectuals, especially all the Build EXITO scholars here. 3 years ago, I was invited to be a career mentor by the principal investigator of Northern Marianas College. And I did not think of how to become a career mentor. I did not Google it. All I did is to went immediately to my scholars and be friend with them, build that trust, and being honest and sincerely shared whatever thoughts that comes to my mind to increase their commitment, motivation, and how to set priorities. So it's very informal. I don't have any checklist. I don't even know if I'm capable of doing, but all I have is passion and love and care for my students. And so I started with one, and I'm proud to tell you that she just graduated, and she's very grateful. Her name is Beda Mundo, and she posted in Facebook because I never do Facebook before. But because of this being career mentor, I went to Facebook because that's where we reach with each other in the messenger. Even when after NMC, she went here, we continuously build our stories with each other. So the next year of being a career mentor in Build EXITO, I have another one, and her name is Maria Dizon. And so they're very smart. They're smarter than I do. But my goal is only to continue to support them, to continue to drive to excellence, the spirit of excellence. Pray about them. If you don't believe, then please forgive me for that. I always, please allow me for this. I always have a motto, put God first, and He will crown your efforts with success. So there are three things that I always emphasize. Now, next year, I was so surprised because 4 scholars came to me. We may want you, Mrs. Liban, to be your career mentor. And I said, oh, I don't know anything about research, but okay. I'm ready to help you. So I told them again, do your best. Always enjoy where you are. Find your strengths. So dear scholars, find your strengths and begin there. Because everyone has his or her own talents and skills. We are not perfect. Even someone has many accomplishments. Look on your specific strengths and you begin there. Enjoy your uniqueness because it is in there that you have true belief in yourself. Nobody will believe you without believing first on yourself. And that's what I shared to them. Doing your best is the key. And having that passion to excel by setting your goals. Because goals to me, in my personal statement, is goals is equals to success. If you scholars do not have specificity and clarification on your goals, it's just like playing a basketball. Keep dribbling and you cannot shoot, then you'll be removed from your specific direction or purpose. So I just love to chat with them. How do I mentor? I meet with them because of my very busy schedule. I'm teaching 5 courses of physical science and 1 chemistry course and accelerated math courses. So I only meet with them 1 hour per month. Very formal, but I always communicate to them in social media, and they love it. My favorite moment is when we go together, have sing along, and because it's not always cognitive. Once you develop the students' motivation to do their best, they will. And so I'm very proud for Beda. I did not give the credit to me, but for them, for their hard work and commitment and strong motivation to continue to excel. And next year, I'm looking forward for 4 scholars to come here, and they are very proactive. I am very proud to tell you that right now they are undergoing a training at University of Hawaii Manoa, doing REU undergraduate research and prior to their RLC training. That's all what I can share, and thank you very much, Dr. Tom, for allowing me. I hope it makes sense. Thank you so much.
So I should have said that in addition to being a scholar, Ashley became sort of a peer mentor to others as she moved on in the program and started working with new scholars. So she can maybe speak from both perspectives, or maybe focus on the peer mentoring.
I feel like I don't have to talk because those two just did such a wonderful job at bringing everything together. So hi, I'm Ashley Widmer. I'm one of the Cohort 1 scholars from the University of Alaska Anchorage. I am a major in biology and I'm minoring in Spanish. I complete my degree in August, so right now I'm taking a little vacation down here, but I'm also writing my thesis and studying for the MCAT, which I'll be taking in September. So in terms of being a peer mentor, we have a kind of a different way of doing it back home in terms of in EXITO. And so it's like if you're the senior scholar, then you're gonna get another scholar that's younger and kind of needs to learn the ropes in a way. And then in my lab, I've been one of the people that have been there the longest, so I'm also a mentor in my lab setting in terms of teaching all of the new undergraduates that come in and need to learn things in the lab. And so mentorship kind of just came on. It's not something that I really chose, but it's something that is kind of natural because you have this set of skills that you want to share with other people, and they really benefit from it. And so when thinking about the peer mentorship relationship, you usually think of, oh, will I get a good peer mentor? But it's also important to remember that you should be a good mentee. And I think that there are attributes that are really important in that relationship. So you have a peer mentor and you want to get the most out of that person and their knowledge and their skills. And so clear communication and a willingness to learn is really important, and being receptive. So, when I first came into my lab, the graduate student had just started a few months prior to me entering, but she had already learned everything because she was like the only person in our lab. And so I came into the lab and I was supposed to be taught things really quickly in the accelerated Build EXITO summer session. And I told my my peer mentor and I told my research mentor that I would be gone for a week. But, emails fall through the cracks, and my research mentor does have a tendency to forget a lot of things, like how to pronounce my last name. And so I told them, but then 2 days after I told them that I wouldn't be there for a week, so it was 2 days into this week-long break, I got this email from them, and it was like, where have you been? We've made all of this media for you. All of these cells are growing, and you're not here. So low-key, passive-aggressive upset with me, right? And so I started crying. They'll never know that I cried unless they watch this, but yeah. And so I emailed them back, and I was like, I'm really sorry. If you look back, I emailed you guys 3 times, and I left a message on my desk, I'm sorry though, I can come in if you want. But they were totally understanding. And so now I can be passive aggressive towards the new undergrads. No, I don't do that. I don't actually do that. But I remember having been felt that way, right? And so you just hope that your mentee communicates appropriately, and you remember that they communicated appropriately so that things like that don't happen. And so I don't technically have a peer mentor through Build, but I have my graduate student that I work with. Her name is Alex. She's awesome. And so we just went to Montreal a few months ago to present research at a cancer immunotherapy conference. It was really cool. There was actually one of the professors from OHSU was leading it, which is really awesome. And so there was planned entertainment on the last night, and we're like, what is it? And I don't know why, but I think my research mentor was like, oh, it's probably a band, a secret band. And I'm like, it's probably a DJ. It was a DJ. And so there were 30 drunk scientists dancing to this very interesting French, I don't know, kind of sounded like dubstep. But at first, my peer mentor and I were like, oh, this is kind of fun to just watch. I'll just watch. But then they started playing the good bangers and stuff, and you're just like, yes. So then you go up, and so I've never gotten that sweaty in my life, but there was this strip of salt on the back of my black shirt that I was wearing, and my peer mentor was like, is that your sweat that's dried up? And I'm like, is that red wine? Anyway, so you go from having your mentor make you cry to dancing with them drunkenly on a dance floor in Montreal. So, yeah, thank you.
Hi, I'm Mirah. I was asked to do this an hour ago, and I don't remember any of the questions. So that's exciting. But I do know a lot about mentoring. I was never officially a peer mentor because of administrative details. I could never be hired on and be paid to do that, but I didn't need it. I coined myself a peer ambassador as to not take the title of peer mentor, and I talked to anybody who would listen to me and anybody who needed listening to. So I really believe in experience advising or experience support, otherwise known as like generational mentoring. And basically that means that like anybody can be a mentor to anyone despite age or anything like that. It's basically like you have experience in this one area and maybe I don't, and so you can mentor me. And then vice versa, I can mentor you in another area, or even you can learn from me in that space as well. So just as I believe you can learn from me, I can learn from all of you, and that's the gist of my belief system around mentoring. But I didn't always believe this. So my background is I'm a Cohort 1 scholar. I graduated from the EXITO program at the end of winter term, so that is about April, for those of you that don't know the system. But so in April, I graduated from the program, which was super exciting. So I was in it for 3 years. But I transferred from Chemeketa, and when I came from Chemeketa, I had a mentoring relationship that was really not good. It was very abusive, and it was abusive in ways that like dealt with power and gender and influence. And I didn't understand those things because nobody had ever told me what a mentoring relationship is supposed to look like and what type of agency or like what type of voice I had within the relationship. So after this relationship ended, under unfortunate circumstances, I had a very hard time believing in this mentoring process. And maybe one of you have had an experience like this, and even like, you know, a close friend, a family member, or just a random stranger that has mentored you in a negative way. And I understand that that can be really traumatic and really like negative, and you know, the level of like negativity in it is various. It's on a spectrum. For me, in my case, it was really traumatic. It was to the point that I didn't believe in mentors. I didn't believe in talking to men about my problems or about the things that I wanted. And I didn't like believe in my professors, especially my male professors. So when I came into EXITO, I was very cynical, very against authority, and very kind of putting my foot down and being a little obstinate. So when I went to the RLC fairs, when you go pick out your PI, I was also had a research focus that I don't have anymore. But I noticed that nobody, except for this one dude, had my like research interests. And at the time, he was talking to someone, and I was really not wanting to talk to him because I was like, oh man, I don't want to talk to this guy. He's probably a jerk. And so I look across the room, and I'm also incredibly nervous because introducing yourself at any moment in time is like nerve-wracking. And I find this small, 5'3", weirdly dressed, red hair, like curly with a blue streak lady just sitting there and very alone and just like swinging her legs because her feet don't touch the ground. And I was like, I could go practice on her. I was going to go practice introducing myself. So I was like, well, I don't know what her name is. I don't know what her research is, but she's here and I'm going to go practice because that is safe for me. So I went and introduced myself very shakily, told her my name, what my research interest was, and she was like, hey! And she introduced herself and I was like, what can you do for me? And she looked at me with warm eyes and just plainly said, well, my lab is like a tray of sushi. And sushi is various, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds and flavors and like different things that you can get, and you can pick anything that you want. She's like, you're in charge of your own mentoring, you're in charge of your own research here. Of course, it's in the boundaries of the plate, but you get to choose whatever you want. And I was like, wow, that sounds nice. And we continued talking, and everything that she was about in terms of her personality and who she was exactly what I needed. And I went and talked to that one guy, and he was really nice. He became one of my professors and is one of the kindest gentlemen I've ever met. But I ended up picking that crazy lady with the red hair because she was everything I needed, even though her research was nothing I was interested in at the time. And then I went into this RLC, and then I met her mentor, who actually became one of my mentors. So she's my grandma research mentor, and then my mom research mentor. And they have become some of my closest friends. They have restored my faith in mentoring, and they have empowered me to go to grad school, to continue doing research, to do my thesis, and complete school, stay in the program. And I just want to impart on you the value of mentoring and the value of people. And then even if you've been through a really horrific mentoring thing, or even like a relationship, that there are good people in the world that care about you, and they want to and have experience and valuable advice and conversation to impart on you, to help you through the process that can sometimes be really scary and really confusing. So that was also, I guess that was my good memory, because I met this wonderful, wonderful person, and then also a little bit of mentoring stuff. Also, if you ever want to talk, please. I love talking about Build EXITO. So that's me.
Hi all, good morning. My name is Lisa Marriott. I'm going to stand up just so I can see the people in the back. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate that. It reinforces why, let me back up. I'm a professor up at OHSU. I'm a career mentor to 3 EXITO Scholars, formally, probably about half a dozen or so informally. I have 2 students currently that are EXITO in my RLC, plus another one that will be joining at the end of the summer. So I have some different perspectives on the various process, but the gist of it is you become a mentor because you want to give back from all the things that you got when you were coming through. And that's the end of it. You just want to help. And however that I can be helpful, I want to help. So I've had some wonderful mentors who have gotten me through what I want to do. I've also had, not my mentor, but someone who shapes your experience in a negative way as well. And those experiences come together to make you a better person. So from my perspective, as you come through, and if I get to interact with you, which I hope that I do, I want to make sure that I can help guide you in the place where you want to go. That if things happen that are unfortunate, and that there's sometimes matches just don't work. And so just as you're going to be meeting multiple people, you're going to get things from multiple people, and that's okay. So I want to connect you with those people so you can get the best experience. And if things do go awry, then we're here to help and support and rectify. So, totally hear you. I learn a ton from my mentees. I don't remember who I was telling, but I don't know I still feel like, I was telling Teala this morning, like I still feel like a student and a postdoc myself. Like it doesn't feel like you ever become, when did I become an adult to do this process? So I appreciate Teala's openness, and I can't reiterate enough all that she said, because you don't know what you don't know, and if there are better ways that I can help, I want to be able to do that, and I want to be able to grow. That's part of life. So I think my proudest moments are when a student gets connected in an area where they didn't see before. I get a ton of joy from that. So there are some students who are going down a path and then they realize, but I want some more experience here, and I can connect them with that. That is incredibly joyful. Or, for example, one of my first career mentees went to the research fair, and she texted me right after. She's like, I found someone who I really like, and so the person was a colleague of mine, and so I texted her being like, oh, this person really liked you, and she's like, oh, that person was my favorite too, and so like it was really fun to be able to, like, at the end of the day, that doesn't always happen that way, so don't get too excited, but it was really fun to see that connection and just see their relationship blossom ever since. So it's never going to be a straight line, but we're here to support you whenever you need it.
I am going to stand up too. A little side note before I begin. A public speaking instructor once showed us all a study about before you give a presentation to get big, like take up space to lower the levels of cortisol. So you're not as nervous. I'm really nervous right now, but it has helped a little, so I'm going to stand up here. I'm Heather. I'm cohort 2, and I guess officially a senior at PSU. And 3 years ago, I saw the poster hanging at PCC about a program that would give undergraduates research mentors, and I knew that I had to apply. And a little background on me, I started school back up spring of 2013, because I finally figured out what it was that I wanted to do with my life. And I have this curiosity about finding therapies through music or anything to help neurophysiology after trauma and disease. And so it was finals week. That very term, I was hit by a car and ended up in the ICU for a week with life-threatening injuries to the brain. Ironic a little. But I didn't let go of my goal of finishing school, so I took the long journey back to school, and among the numerous obstacles I now have, I didn't know how to get to where I wanted to be with research. So finding that Build EXITO poster was like a saving grace for me. And I didn't know what a career mentor was until EXITO placed me with mine, Dr. Bill Greiser, and I was so scared to reach out to him, to meet him. And it's a thing you'll all know, imposter syndrome. And so that weighed on me, but I reached out to him. And what was surprising was when I went into his office, he was super excited to meet me. And I couldn't understand why this professional would be so happy to meet me, this undergrad who knew nothing, that I felt was nothing. But through him, I'm now actively involved with neuroscience outreach for students and general public. And that outreach brought me to Washington, D.C. last year to present about it at the annual Society for Neuroscience conference. And alongside my mentor, we were able to do some DC outreach in public schools and present in front of Congress. So that was really cool. And then last year, I was placed in my RLC. My mentor, Samantha Underwood, I got to meet her. And ironically, I work in the ICU that I fought to live in now doing clinical research. So it's kind of a healing experience for me. But the imposter syndrome came back with a vengeance once I was in that placement, as you, I'm sure, can imagine. But Samantha has always listened to my worries and my doubts, and she's really helped ease me into the lab so that I can feel accepted and comfortable doing clinical research, scary research almost. And then the research opportunities I have, I'm now doing research that pertains to what I initially went back to school to do. So that's huge for me. And just to have both my mentors believe in me and trust me with such things like research or presenting to Congress or, having confidence in me has helped me to gain some confidence that I think I lost when the disability happened. And I feel like I can do it now with their help, and then I go to them when I feel weak or whatever, and to see them not, waver in their confidence in me has helped everything to keep me going. So, and I do also want to add, the imposter syndrome thing won't go away, but these professionals, they do want to help you, and they don't see you as the imposter syndrome may tell you you are, you're not fit for it, you can't do it. It's just imposter syndrome. So just kind of set it aside and keep going and get there. And I'm really excited for you guys. This is a great experience.
I'm not sure how much I can really add because everyone's had such wonderful things to say. For me, being a mentor, I don't think I ever thought I would see myself in this spot. I really enjoy doing what I do and working with students like Heather and others that have come through our lab because I believe in what I do. I want other people to get to where I am and feel like they have a purpose in the research that they're doing. I think that one of the best ways I've been able to support the students coming through our lab is helping people understand that we're all human and we all make mistakes. And it's accepting that acknowledging that and being able to rectify those mistakes. I think that some of my fondest memories throughout the last couple of years has been just seeing people grow. So everyone comes to our lab, they're all excited about doing research. We have multiple opportunities on how people can get involved, and just seeing people grow, build their skills, and being able to take responsibility for their studies. Seeing students like Heather present at Research Week at OHSU this spring. It's not easy getting up and talking in front of people. I'm still nervous to this day, talking in front of people. But it's an experience that I think as researchers, as people in academics, it's a good skill to be able to build. I just got back from Sacramento last night. We do research looking at cannabis and motor vehicle collisions, and we went to UC Davis to bring on another site. And I think for me, seeing that I really didn't need to be there because one of the Build EXITO students we recently hired, and she has taken on as the responsibility as lead coordinator for this particular study. And being able to see that she had it all under control. Like, she can go to the next site, she can train everybody, and I don't need to be there, was just a great experience for me. So I'm very excited to see all of you here, and perhaps I will see you in our lab in the near future. But really take advantage of your mentors and what you can learn from them, and know that you can also teach them things too.
Great. So I want to, first of all, thank all of you so much and acknowledge the wonderful comments that you made, and especially sharing your stories. I imagine that folks out here might have some questions, so we'll open it up. Maybe somebody can help run around this microphone, and we'll...
From a mentor's perspective, what type of expectations do you expect from your mentees?
My expectations, so I fully understand that you guys are here as students, and that is your priority. But as a mentor, you come to our lab to learn how to do research and to learn the responsibility of making that commitment. So my expectations that if you tell me you're going to be there, you're there. If you can't come in, then we need to make sure that we have an open line of communication. So things happen, but I do expect a lot of communication between myself, students in our lab, all of our volunteers, or with whoever happens to be covering in the hospital that day. So I think communication is really key. So I work in trauma research, which I basically expect nobody to know anything about trauma research. You are here to learn. I hire people as research assistants, and over the years, I don't expect them to, I hire entry-level people because most people, not most, but many people come to our lab and their goal is to get into PA school or med school, and we can help with that. You get that clinical experience, you get some, animal research experience. My expectation is that you're willing to learn. So you don't necessarily have to have any specific background for us. I don't know how it is in all the other labs, but I think that, you have to be willing to learn new skills and continue to grow. I think the only thing that I would add is I love seeing enthusiasm and wanting to do it. So you're not expected to learn anything, that's why you're here.
This is mostly for like the fellow previous cohorts. What was it like not only preparing your poster but presenting it to like places around the U.S., especially like Congress or like even in France, as one of y'all put. So yeah, what was that like?
It's very nerve-wracking. You think you kind of have an idea until you're faced with actually doing it, getting the research, getting an abstract together. I did about 50 versions of one abstract and finally got it, and it worked. And so I had to make a poster. And just ask for help from all your resources, especially through EXITO. That's why they're there, and together you will get your end accomplished. And yeah, it's nerve-wracking. So don't think that you don't know what you're doing. I mean, I don't think a lot of people know what they're doing really. So I don't know. It's just you might feel bad about yourself, but don't, because everyone's in the same boat, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I can add to that. I did a summer internship at the Oregon Institute of Occupational Health Sciences last summer, and had the opportunity to present our research there. And it was one of the scariest things that I've ever done. So I'm pretty psyched that I came out on the other end. And the things that I learned is there's no such thing as a perfect poster. You're going to have 14 different people look at it, and you're still going to find a typo. So just roll with it. And then there isn't, like, I cannot tell you how much. Just prepare. Practice with people. Talk about it. Speaking with your peers is going to be a little bit easier, but it is really scary when people, especially as an undergrad, when you're presenting something, and people who've been doing this for like 20, 30 years they're going to throw you some really hard questions. And don't be afraid to say, I don't know, or that's a really interesting question. I'd like to look into that. But it really is just about like knowing that you don't know everything, and that's okay, and not being scared because everyone else has been in the same position. And then just using it as a learning experience and recognizing that this is part of your journey.
I had the very rare opportunity to present in Rotterdam, Netherlands at the International Society of Autism Research. It was a very big privilege for an undergraduate to go present a poster there. I was really scared. There's about 10,000 people there. Some of the biggest names in autism research attend, and I got to meet so many of them. So I was very, very fortunate. I practiced, and then when I presented my poster, it was among 250 other posters. So it wasn't as big of a deal for me in this particular conference, in this context, as it was for maybe a smaller conference. So know the size of your conference. If you're going to a conference that's 10,000 people, maybe 13 of them will come talk to you. And that makes it a little bit less like stakes, because by the time that you keep watching like 100 people roll by, you're like, please come talk to me. I love this. You should too. So, and yeah, it's scary. Practice, but at the end of the day, you will know that research better than anybody else there.
I remember one of my first poster presentations, they wanted the poster to be 4 by 4 feet, and I was like, oh God, that's big. And then I spelt fluorescence wrong, so that was a big mistake on a large board, but like, it fell through the cracks. Like your PI looks at it and he's like, oh, that looks great, print it. And then the grad student's like, oh, that looks great, print it. And then I'm looking at a 2-inch font that says fluorescence with the O and the U switched spots, and it's like, oh my goodness. And then you think, okay, I'm never gonna make a mistake on a poster again, but then a few months ago, I had a poster, and after like 10 revisions, everybody's like, it's great, print it. And then I'm standing there at the poster presentation, and I look and I'm like, my bars are all different colors. And so it's like, all of them are supposed to be red, but there's like a red one and a green one and a blue one, and I'm like, I didn't do that on purpose, but it's not like anyone else is gonna notice except for you, right? Because you made that poster. So you're like really, really scrutinizing of it. And as Mirah said, the size of the conference really does matter. And so the one that I was just at was strictly a cancer immunotherapy conference. I think there were maybe 500 people in attendance. And yeah, I only talked to like 6 people, you know? And they will ask you the really hard questions, or they will be really interested, and that's kind of the reason why they want to talk to you. So it's really important to just be excited about your research, and people will see that and be excited for you.
What was the most poignant life lesson that you have learned from your mentor or mentee?
That I need to slow down. So I think that when I first started, if I can go faster and like, here are the things we're gonna do, this step, then it's too much, it's too fast. So I've learned that I need to pace and be more receptive and slow that whole process down.
So my mentor actually said it earlier, but it's something I struggle with. We all make mistakes, and to accept that and forgive yourself and not be too hard on yourself, because it's gonna happen.
For me, I would like to give an equation for that. P raised to 5. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Thank you.
For the older cohorts, did you have to work while you were doing this? And if so, how did you manage like your time?
Okay, yeah, so I had a job. I actually just quit it. I'm really excited to be unemployed. So right when I started Build, one of my fellow scholars in my cohort back home, she just started working in the emergency department at Providence Hospital, and she was like, oh, you should totally like come on board and like be a scribe. And I'm like, okay. And so I've spent three years doing scribing, and I do like 2 to 3 shifts a week with a full schedule and my research stuff. Guys, I didn't have a social life for 3 years. Like, what is fun? I didn't know what it was. It's Netflix in the middle of the night. But you just have to make sure that you set aside time for yourself, and that you make sure that you tell like your managers, like, I can't work this much this week, like you gotta give me some time off. Or telling your PI, like, hey, like I can do a lot of research like this week, but like let's like pull it back a little this week. Like I've got these tests this week. And it's really important to know your schedule, and I think that's really important. And so I never really used a planner because I hate writing things, but you just kind of have to have it in the back of your mind that there could be something you're forgetting all the time. That's kind of an unfortunate thing to say to you guys, but that's how my brain works. But don't let yourself become overwhelmed, and make sure that you set up a boundary for yourself in terms of like time commitments.
My job was to myself. I had some really rough times, so like having my schedule plus work made it almost impossible to go to school sometimes, but my emotional health was my job, because it got pretty rough. I won't lie to you. But I do know a lot of other scholars that had jobs and I never saw them. So that's a thing. It can happen. I've heard it is very difficult, but it is possible.
I'm going to completely agree with what you said. I think that for every single person, you have to make a choice with yourself, your family, discuss what your financial options are, what your reality is. For me, I'm very lucky because my husband supports me a ton. I recognize that a lot of people don't have that resource. So for me, I don't have to work other than the 10 hours that I do in the lab per week. It was also a choice to take those extra loans out, because for me, I'm 40. I got to get through this. And I also really, really, really want to make sure that I do the best that I can in every class. And so making that decision to take the extra loans out, not have to work, get through this quickly, it works for me, and it makes sense for my mental health.
So I have 5 jobs. One is the research placement, because I live alone in Portland and rent. I'm sure those that live here know what that's like. But I'm lucky because the 4 other jobs work around my school and my research placement, because I have 3 jobs up on the hill that are in bench lab work. and then I have a serving job that's 1 day a week, but the managers know me really well, and they want me to succeed in school and everything. So I think that's how I found the ability to work so much with school, and I don't have a social life either. But I am learning how to do self-care, which is hard. So always keep that in mind, because you will forget about self-care quick. And so I don't know what fun is, but I'm slowly learning. And I'm hoping to get it this summer and figure it out. So it's doable, just think of yourself too.
So I'll just tag on to that, to the extent you have a choice in choosing an RLC placement, and we try to offer that, there are so many different considerations. First of all, the type of research, you hopefully can find something that lines up with your interests. But then also, as we heard on this panel, the connection you have with the research mentor or the PI, and finding the right one in the corner of the room that really speaks to you, and you can work with that person, and it may trump or may override what you thought was your research interest, because the personal connection is more important. And then there's also the scheduling issue. So that's, again, a good kind of question to ask when you're considering different labs. If you have a choice to say, what kind of work schedule are you expecting? How flexible is it? Can we negotiate the time each week or between weeks, so that you can work in the other things that you have to do. So it is hard to have all of those things line up. So we try to do the best we can, but you sometimes have to prioritize those things. So, I think we have time for maybe one last question, if there's anybody else. So the question is whether any of them had changed placements from one lab to another, and how did that work? And I'll just note that we, as a program, we think there's value in having these longer term placements, so that you can get a lot of training and really learn what's happening in the lab, and then contribute and actually get to the point where you're doing posters and presentations because you know it so well. But we do allow a transition after the first year, like in the summer between. If your interests totally change, or there's really tension that we can't resolve, or something like that. So it is possible, but for the most part, we're encouraging the long-term placements. But I'll let any of them speak to if they did make a change.
So I can't speak to me transitioning per se, but I have a student that will be coming in and joining us who is coming from a different laboratory. And just like you said, we want to make sure that the fit is right. And if it's not right, then we want to support you and encourage you and where you want to go. So I'm delighted for the student that's going to be coming to join. So I'm going to be learning a lot from him, and hopefully vice versa.
So I'll just ask Carlos, is there one more? Or, okay, somebody over here raise a hand.
So for the previous part, I'm just wondering, how did you guys balance the lab work and your academic work?
I've had to schedule my days out where I will, and also to do the self-care, I have to schedule that in. But just kind of like, okay, I will work from here, I'll get home, I'll rest, and then I will study. And this is what I need to do for school. Just kind of just being really strict on a schedule has helped me a lot.
Yeah, I agree 100%. If you have a calendar app, use it. If you like writing things down, write it down. Keep a calendar. It is no joke the best tool that you can have. For me, because I know that I'm not as motivated when I'm at home, I do everything at school. I get there at, whatever o'clock I need to. And I've been pretty lucky. I've had like 10 a.m. classes, so I'm not there at 7 a.m. But I spend all day there. And when I'm not in class, I'm in the computer lab or I'm in a study room and I'm connecting, with other students, and I'm getting what I need done so that the days that I am scheduled in the lab, I am 100% present. And again, communication, I'm very open and honest. If I know the week before finals, I need to focus on that, she knows ahead of time, well ahead of time. I use that calendar app, I tell her when I'm gonna be in there, when I'm not, and I stick to it.
I'm in a lab that doesn't have like strict times when we come in. I work remotely. That means I work from my bed. So that means Netflix sounds way better than writing that report or doing any of my homework frequently. So I had to also create a schedule. I had to create like a job schedule basically for myself. And each lab you go into is going to be different. Some are going to have times when you come in. They're going to have meetings that are specific times. My lab wasn't like that. Because my PI wasn't like that. She works a lot remotely, and that was cool. I was really excited until I wasn't getting anything done. And I had to really be like, oh, this has to change. So it's about knowing yourself, knowing what you need, and then doing it. And scheduling, lots of scheduling. And if you need to go somewhere, go somewhere. So, yeah.
My lab is a lot of bench work, and bench work can really vary depending on like what you need to do that week or what the lab really needs of you. And so for my school, I usually prefer afternoon classes because mornings are not my forte. And so I'll have like a class that's at like 11:30, and then a class that's maybe at like 2:30, and then like a class that's at like 5, right? And then you have those on a few days, but then you have certain days that are empty, and I usually prefer to do all my research, if I can, in those blocks of time. But of course, bench work can be different and messy, so you have to go in like, oh, I have a lunch break. I'll just go in there, look at my cells for like 20 minutes, and then leave. So it's really dependent on where you get placed and kind of what kind of commitment you have to being physically at school or physically anywhere. So I think it's really dependent.
So I want to wrap things up, and I want to give a big thank you for our wonderful panel.